Alright, we're just getting set up to do our continuous loops, and we've got some of our materials, some of our tools here. This is a guide that I use when making my continuous loops that I picked up from Ian Young in his YouTube videos, where he gives quite good instruction on how to do this, and I've been in the process of making these loops. The tools that you need is a fishing wire. This is just a piece of copper wiring, electrical wire that I stripped the plastic from, measuring tape, a nail, and a knife, something sharp. And it doesn't hurt to have a cutting board. Alright, we'll carry on from here. Alright, we're tapering the ends of our continuous loops that I'm making out of the 764 Amsteel. And we're just tapering these ends here each side 1 inch in. That is step one. And you do that by taking a nail, making sure there's no burrs on the nail, and you pull out evenly I'm using 3 different threads from it. I'm pulling those out. So you can get one more here. Alright, that one kind of frayed a little on me. Then take a knife, cut off the excess threads that you've just pulled out. Be careful not to cut any other part. And once you've done that, you kind of see this one kind of fell apart on me, and that might be a problem. That may be a problem. We'll see. This one here, got one out. That was the worst one I did. So I've done 8 of these. This is my 8th. Let's see if I can do this one a little better. All the rest worked out really well. As soon as I turned the camera on, things went south a little. So you try to keep that part together. You're just trying to thin it a little bit so that when you're feeding it through, as you're making the continuous loop or you're making the whoopee sling, that it's a little narrower than it's tapered, essentially. Okay. Obviously don't want to cut anything else but the little ends you've pulled out. That one's way better. Okay, so has a tapered end. You can see that it gets thicker and then it gets thin because we pulled out 3 threads. This one here is a hot mess. So we're going to see how that one works, but I think we're fine. That's it. Alright, now that we've got our rope all tapered, we take our rope, which is 28 inches long for these loops. A 28-inch long turns into will make an 8-inch loop. Oh, just under 8-inch loop. So that's what we're reaching for. That's what we're trying to do. So this here will turn into one of these. Okay, I've already done 7. This is my 8th. So what we do is we mark the Amsteel at 5 inches in from each side, as you can see, or may not be able to see, but I took some marker and marked 5 inches in there. I did that on both sides. Okay, so what we do is we take the first mark, we spread it out like so, and we take our fishing wire and we feed it through our rope. And what's really important is that you make sure you have the same amount of rope on both sides. And right now we do not, so we need to bring just another little piece of the rope over. Okay, so we're in between. We got enough rope on both sides, and what we do is we feed our other tapered end into the fishing wire. We pull that through. And then before we get to the other side where the other hole is, we do the same thing. We squeeze it, we open it up, we feed our fishing wire through. Again, making sure that we have even on both sides, which again, we do not. I'm striking out on that one. But there we go. Should be even on both sides. I believe it's 8 strands and there should be 4 on each side. So now we take this side of the rope and we're going to pull it through over here. Feed it into our fisher and we carefully pull it through the rope. Now what we've done, get rid of our fishing wire for a minute. So what you end up with is something like that. So both ends are fed through the rope itself, and you create this. So once you've got that, you pull that together. That's essentially your loop right there. Now what we want to do is we want to feed this end, we want to hide that end. Okay, and what we want to hide it is inside the rope itself. So we're going to hide it within itself. The way to do that is you just pull that like so. You come to the end and you come about 1 inch to 1.5 inches past, and you open it up and you feed your fishing wire, and this time instead of going through the rope, you're going to come up through the middle like so. Now my fishing line here is a little big. Alright, so we're feeding the fishing wire through the rope in between. You want to make sure you don't come out anywhere. If you're not careful and you go too fast, it'll pop out. It'll do one of these. You don't want that. Not too early. Eventually you do, but just not yet. So we carefully feed it through. What's really important is you come all the way to where this one's coming out. And that's a little trickier than I at first thought it would be. But you have to come out right where the rope is coming out. Alright, so once you've done that, you then take feed that into your fishing line and carefully pull. Now at first, because it's so thick, you got the rope and your fishing wire, it's a little tricky. If you're just careful and just carefully work it along, as you can see, now I've pulled it out the other end. So we've fished the end of the rope through the middle of the rope. Now, this is the reason why we start a little early, because we've got all this and we want to hide that. We don't want that sticking out. So now that we've done that, I like to kind of pull things tight a little bit. And then what you do is you just milk the rope. You milk the rope until that end disappears. Alright, so that's that end hidden. Okay. So now that end of the rope is on the inside of the other of itself. So all we need to do now is carry on and do the other side. And it's the same process. Come to the end, about 1.5 inches further back. Open that up. And you feed in. Just kind of work it in. Oh, see, you don't want that. It's okay, you haven't ruined anything as long as your fishing wire is smooth and you don't catch or snag anything. And you're careful. It'll be alright. So now what we want to do is the same thing. You want to come out right where the rope is coming in. Like so. See the end of the rope? See the same hole? You want the same hole. Alright. Alright, so again we're sticking out the other end and we want to hide that, so you just kind of work it a little bit with your fingers so your those strands go the direction you want and you start to milk that out. and it disappears. And you have a continuous loop. A very strong loop that we're going to use on the ends of our hammocks. We're going to replace the loops that are in there with these Amsteel loops, our Grand Trunk hammocks that we've got for my boys. And since I have 3 sons, we're going to make 3 of them, 3 sets. So I'm doing 4 sets so that I might make myself my own another hammock to add to my collection. But we've got enough here, 8 sets of loops, 4 sets of loops, 2 each for the Grand Trunk hammocks. Now the next thing I'm going to be working on is whoopee slings. So we'll do a video on that. But I'd like to thank Hunter, my youngest son, for helping me with the videoing. He's done a great job. And hopefully we get some hammocks done up here right away. Thanks. Hope you enjoyed our video. And if you have any questions, just leave a comment. Feel free. Thanks.